AJ.
Brain.
What's up, AJ?
Nothing much, man. I had pizza for breakfast yesterday.
Woo!
Yeah, I actually went. So my brother's been in town, and actually I've been hanging out with both my brothers and my nieces and my sister-in-law.
I'm already bored by this story.
It's been wonderful to see them, but my brother couldn't get anybody to go see Ghostbusters with him. So the only time we could make it work is to go see the 10:45 showing yesterday. And like, I've never gotten ready for a movie. Like I was late for work, like, cause I woke up and I was like, oh shit. And just started throwing everything together, and I didn't eat anything and I needed to eat something. I was feeling weak. And so like, I just wanted like a slice of pizza and some popcorn. And it turns out I accidentally bought like a whole personal pizza. So like I ate like, it was like 4 slices. It was actually pretty good though. I was surprised. I thought movie theater pizza would be trash, but yeah. So
like, I can't believe you went to see Ghostbusters, and instead of you reviewing the movie, you're reviewing the pizza from the movie. How was the movie?
The pizza's way more important than the movie.
Brian. Oh no, this is not what I wanted to hear.
No, it was okay. Like it's okay. Like it's, I don't know. Could be better. It's amazing. I think about what could be, what it could have been, what they could have done, and everything.
Like they could have made it great. Instead, they just made it all right.
I mean, they could have made Ghostbusters into like a multi-billion-dollar thing. It did actually just crack officially $1 billion of lifetime.
Yeah.
But no, I've been on like a Ghostbusters bender, man. Like I've just
been watching the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon from back in the day.
Yeah. Not that one. I watched that one, and then I came home. I watched the original because because
it's good.
The original is just timeless classic, and then I went and I played the Rise of the Ghost Lord DLC.
Just to end on a sour note, huh? Amazing. All right, well, I definitely want to talk about that. So let's get started.
Let's do it to it.
This is PSVR GameScast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Wise Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure. However, we also care about your oral pleasure. That's why our good friend RidePop uploads this on podcast services of your choice. Hey, listen, Google Chromecast listeners, to the 5% of our listeners who are out there using that, you're probably not going to hear this on Google Chromecast, because that shit ends tomorrow. April 2nd, Google Chromecast is shutting down. So if you're one of our 5% of users who use Google Chromecast, go check out something else. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or maybe you want something a little more independent, like Pocket Casts, Overcast, Podcast Addict. AJ, this is the first time I've ever said or even heard the name of any of these podcast services. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR without Parole. This gentleman over here to my left, your right, it's AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
What is up, Brian? What is up, Game Cats? Happy Monday. And I know that Mondays usually suck. Yes, it's true. But we are here, Brian, to ensure their Monday sucks just a little bit less.
I mean, you're here for that. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I don't know, with this thumbnail and this title, the topic of today's show, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people like leaving as long of a comment as they can, bringing everybody down. No, this ain't about that. We love PSVR2, obviously, and we want to talk about this in a positive way, like some ways that things can be improved upon. There's got to be a balance, right? There's got to be a balance of, hey, you can like this thing, but you can also critique it. You can also say how it's better. Of course, a lot of people are going to, like I said, going to be out there just being like, oh, doom and gloom. That's not really the thing here. Just bring a level-headed conversation. Behave, Brian. Behave.
I'm all riled up today, AJ.
We can't blur the things live. No, it's just
dude, I should get something to go over my middle finger that's all pixelated. So every time I fucking flip people off on the show, it's automatically pixelated. It's just a piece of fuck everybody. That's a good summation, right? Fuck everybody. No, listen, I hate clickbait. I hate things that sound like the video that we're doing right now. I really hate all that shit. And in fact, when people just go, when that's every video they post, I'm like, God, you're annoying, right? But we never do it. We never do it. And the reason that I want to do it today, the reason I want to say something, like make a headline like this, that's just like blatantly a little clickbaity, but also a little honest, is because I'm secretly hoping that somebody over there at Sony is listening. If we can make 1% of difference over there at Sony, because somebody over there listened and said, you know what? That shit is important. We should listen to them. Then anything to get who needs to hear it. That's the point of today's show.
Well, you should have put a big picture of Hiroki Totoki, because
that's not a real name.
Maybe that is a real name. In fact, Brian, it is official that Jim Ryan. We're not getting to the news just yet, but it is official that Jim Ryan is retired, and now Hiroki Totoki, which is a real name, Brian. I'm sure he's gonna definitely listen to you when you say that. Is the official interim CEO over at PlayStation Studios, and sounds like he's going to be here in place for about a year or so as they work together to get a full-time new CEO. So it's going to be an interesting ride.
AJ, this is so confusing. Why they've known Jim Ryan was leaving for a very long time. Why after all this time? And maybe this is just how it works in like big corporations that they have that. Why wouldn't they have somebody in place to take over the role instead of being some interim director?
Well, maybe he does end up being the full time. We don't really know, but I don't know, man. That's not something I think most people know, but it's what I do know is that there's obviously a lot of shakeup going on at Sony right now, and it's not just VR is just a small part of their overall like PlayStation Studios operation. It's a very small part. So there's a lot of things that are going to be changing and flipping around and stuff. I mean, when when Jim Ryan was first appointed to PlayStation as head of PlayStation or whatever, I knew a big change was coming then, and we have seen kind of it took a couple of years, obviously, because with big corporations, Brian, things don't just happen overnight. That is one thing I can tell you, having working with a big corporation, is that even the things that seem the most minuscule change actually go through like super lengthy processes. So during that time, there's a lot of stuff that falls on the people that are doing the operating behind the scenes on their shoulders and keeping things up and running until they get a new leader with a clear vision and a clear direction and communicates that to the rest of the teams. And then you got to wait for that to kind of start going into effect. So it's going to be very interesting the next couple of years to see kind of, we're not going to see anything right away. I can tell you that right now. Just like how when COVID happened or whatever, like we didn't see the effects of that until later. And that's just part of big companies, man. Any change, drastic change especially, takes a long time to start seeing the effects of it.
Let's see this article from I can't scroll. Why can't I scroll? This article from VGC.com takes a little bit of a deeper look into it. And Mr. Totoki, yes.
Oh, well, says, is the PSVR2 really doing that poorly? It is not probably. I mean, the way that I look at it, man, is that PSVR2 should have sold 4 times the PSVR1. Sony have said it's selling okay. Mm-hmm. Like it's selling okay. They've said that themselves. I usually go by their word because they're usually legally have to say kind of how things are. You can't mislead as a big company. You have to be honest. So they said it's doing okay, that it is a challenging category. That's what Eric Lempel said, who's like one of the, head marketing strategists. And so, yeah, it's not like doom and gloom or anything, but it should be doing a lot better, which is kind of why we've kind of sparked the conversation we're going to be having today. Just want to answer that question, just to get that out of the way. Brian, sorry, go ahead. Continue.
No, and that's really fair. Like we're going to address. Wow, that is a fucking Coca-Cola ad and a half. It just took up the whole page. Close. Yeah, that's something we're going to address. And I don't. I mean, listen, the media wants you to think that PlayStation VR2 is dead. There's been so many smear pieces that have been written over the last year and a half, like before PSVR2 even came out, basically proclaiming it dead. Meta jumped on that as soon as possible, letting people know at the PSVR2 launch, listen, there's just like a lot of Quest games over there. And then people just repeated that. So the message is that, is it dead? No. Does it need saving? No, but it definitely could use improvement.
It does need improvement for sure. There's a lot of room for improvement. And yeah, it's funny how, Brian, we talk about the media. This is something we dealt with for all 5-7 years of the PSVR 1 as well. I mean, the only thing that kind of silenced people's perception was eventually, people started to realize like how good the library was. I mean, everybody for years said it didn't have any games. It didn't, it's just tech demos. Right. And then by the end of the life cycle, like people were like, PSVR has the best library, like hands down. And that's kind of how I feel like this generation is going to go as well. But it is funny, Brian, I'm 100% with you there in the way the media has always treated PSVR. It's definitely a little bit unfair. And it always feels like, I don't know what it is, whether it be motivated by clicks, self-interest of, generating website things. I mean, if you look at the stuff that the gaming websites overall talk about, it's, they don't hesitate to jump on anything negative, even so far as celebrating the death of a politician, just for having a different stance and using that not in a way to they know exactly what they were doing when they talked about that. And it's disgusting. It's honestly, it's to the point where it's absolutely disgusting. And yeah, you don't hear them talking about any of the good news, right? Like I posted a tweet on Friday and I was like, I just posted like, hey, this is some big news this week. Unity added support for DFR, which is going to allow a lot of games now with Unity, a lot of indie devs to utilize eye-tracked foveated rendering and 90 frames per second, which is like the optimal kind of performance for PSVR games. Hellsweeper got a major update. You didn't see anything on that. Did your lights just go out?
I wasn't looking at the screen and then I clicked over. No, it's just the contrast between the super bright background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't see anybody reporting about Hellsweeper getting a giant update. Like these are all big news things. And man, it's just, I don't know. The media has just always had it out for PSVR 2. And that's, that's okay because it's been our benefit.
Right. Yeah, listen,
but that's not what we want, though.
Absolutely. It's not what we want. And yeah, dude, when I was putting together PSVR this weekend, and I was like, wow, dude, like so much good fucking news coming our way. Right? Anybody who's still out there being like, oh, PSVR 2 is dead. Oh, it's only Quest games. Oh, you're getting the worst versions of these games. There was, I do feel like there were rocky periods over the first year. But we've gotten through that. A lot of that had to do with Unity and, with developers understanding how important dynamic foveated rendering is with, super sampling and how, that maybe reprojection isn't the best thing for their game, that they should be shooting for 90 frames. Like, yeah, it's all kind of coming together right now. And most of the bad ports we've gotten have been fixed and look stunning. And most of the games coming are now utilizing DFR, and we just heard from Arcanage, Madison. These games are going to be 90 frames native at launch. This is PSVR2 is coming into its own, and for Sony to capitalize on that is important, right? It might have been easy to kind of look away for the first year and say, well, it's having some issues. Developers are figuring out how to wrap their head around some of the tech. Some of the ports aren't great, but now it's all coming together. And if Sony doesn't capitalize on what's happening right now and how great the future looks for this thing, then it's like, okay, well, what the fuck are you doing, Sony? It was okay to kind of let the first year go, but now it's like, dude, it's time to tell people how good this is.
Yeah. We always kind of referred to it as a soft launch, but it seems like seems like there was more going on at Sony than we knew. Obviously, a lot of that news broke throughout the year with, the legal battles with like Microsoft buying every big publisher and their direction of games as a service not panning out and kind of backfiring and setting a bunch of their flagship studios like back a while. But there's also been some really great things they've done as well, obviously. But yeah, that's been the big focus, and now things are kind of, I don't want to say they're settling down, because I think we're still in for a little bit of a ride here with, kind of figuring out, them getting back to having their identity and also having a viable, plan for the future.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that still need to be worked out. And, we just feel it more because we're in the smaller division of what PlayStation Studios is doing. However, you and I, Brian, are both here as long as our wonderful, amazing community ever is because we know the potential that VR has and that PSVR has. And it's like, it really is for a lot of us. It's like the future of gaming. There's like no way we can go back to the thing. I've described it multiple times as being like experiencing gaming for the first time over again. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's like the jump from 2D to 3D games or something.
And we're going to have our own list of things that we think Sony needs to do. But I'm already seeing people, and this is fun, AJ, because I feel like, everyone's got their own like little agenda, and they're like the thing that'll save it is more. I saw somebody say more racing games or another racing game or something, and then somebody else said, oh, Doom 2016 in VR would have saved the day. Everyone's got the thing that they want the most. BioShock, right? And I think so one, keep in mind that like the thing that is going to save it for you and the thing that makes it like way better for you doesn't save it for everybody. But two, I fucking love these things, right? I want to hear what everybody has to say. I want to hear what everybody's like, this is the thing that'll save VR or save PSVR. Fucking make sure you put those in the comments, because I'm going to try to read out as many of the ones that I see. So yeah, because I love it. I love hearing from everybody, and I love hearing what they think is the thing that'll save it. However, AJ, we need to go through some tips. I know this is your show, but I feel like we got to go through some tips before we really get started. Starting with Samson, 143 VR. I want to talk to Samson. Sorry. Samson. Yeah, I'm waning very quickly here. With the $5 tip says, "What the fuck is up?" That's a good greeting, by the way. What the fuck is up? Finally, nice enough for VR outside. Been crushing synth riders with the breeze blowing my beautiful locks. I'm glad someone's blowing your beautiful locks. Just remember, meta is beta.
Beta.
It's fun to say both ways. Thank you, Samson. Enjoy the wind blowing your beautiful locks. Put some clothes on. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Gamecat with the $5 tip. Says, appreciate you guys motivating me to crush my workout to catch the show live. LOL. That's a
nice
weird flex. Get what I mean?
Crush that working
out. It's a weird flex. This isn't muscle. This is all just being held together by shirt. It's all gonna fall out otherwise. Winnicus. Is that Winnicus? Winnicus, the Gamecat with the $2 says, finally got a PSVR2. Shocked at the large library. Yeah, you know why you're shocked? Because no one's saying it. Everyone's saying, oh, there's no games. It's all Quest ports.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a reason why you're shocked, because because people are fucking lying about how great the library is.
Yep. And meanwhile, we're over here like drowning in games.
Yeah, people are like, where's this review? Where's that review? I was like, I just published a review. You know how long these things fucking take? Mr. Bean, which is spelled differently, but we're going to pretend it's Rowan Atkinson, with the $10 tip, says, been watching Without Parole reviews for years, helping me decide what to play. Thanks for playing the bad game so we don't have to. Yeah, you're welcome. Looking forward to the missed PSVR2 game. I don't know if he means the Riven one or Firmament, but either way, I'm down for some fucking Cyan Worlds VR games.
Yeah, me too. Even though they're puzzle games, they look beautiful.
You're going to be so miserable.
I did like Myst and Riven back in the day, so that environmental puzzle stuff is cool.
I didn't like flipping through slideshows. Even back in the day, I was like, it was cool when there was like a CGI, like, oh, you're walking through this path, and now you're here. I don't know. I didn't like the slideshow stuff. So that's why I definitely want to play these in VR. Man Bear Pig Gamecat AJ, he does exist, with the $2 tip, says, if there's no PSVR 3, what happens to this amazing channel? Dude, retro games. I've been telling you guys for a while, like, fuck PSVR 2 even. Like, one day you might just wake up and this channel's just called Without Parole Retro, and you're gonna be like, oh shit, this is all he's doing now. He finally put his headset down, and all he's gonna do is play retro games. That's what's gonna happen to this channel. Has nothing to do with the success or failure of PSVR. Has everything to do with what I feel like doing. Now let's try in the game Feline with the $5 tip, says the only game that will change the conversation, in my opinion, is Grand Theft Auto in VR. That's what everyone keeps saying they want. Dude, I'm with you. I don't think we had Skyrim on PSVR 1. We had Minecraft on PSVR 1. We had Astrobot. We had Resident Evil 7, like almost right out of the gate. Like, these are games that should have really moved the needle, but none of them really did. I think Grand Theft Auto is the game, maybe the only game out there that could really change people's perceptions and move the needle and make everybody go, I need to check this shit out.
Yeah. My big needle mover games would be like, obviously Grand Theft Auto and that new Metal Gear Solid remake. That'd be pretty cool. Cyberpunk 2077. Just some of these like big hitters, because there's a lot of stuff that people would want. There's a lot of stuff that people would want to like enjoy. But there's a difference between like something like looking good or looking like the right thing, the right thing according to whoever it is. And then there's a difference between like what's actually selling, right? Like and I think to actually sell systems, yeah, like those hybrid titles do. It's the easiest way to kind of conceptualize how VR works when you say, oh, put Grand Theft Auto in VR. It's easy to explain that and show like why that's a big deal versus having something amazing come out that's an IP that, again, like our new PSVR2 owner friend in the chat, congrats again on the headset, thinks that there's absolutely no games because they're just not IPs that they've heard of, despite there being like huge. I mean, we literally just got like 100-hour RPG and a Minecraft game, and it's like, the hybrids always really help. But I guess we'll get into that a little bit more later.
We sure will. By the way, Funky Sloth is on the retro train here and says, Brian, do you play much Sega Saturn? I do, now that I've got my Polymega. Polymega's got a really good Saturn emulator, and I finally get to pull out my copy of Enemy Zero, Panzer Dragoon Saga, and get to play those for the first time in like fucking 20 years, I think. I haven't had my Saturn plugged in a very, very long time. They look beautiful. They still hold the test of time. If you haven't played Enemy Zero and you're a sound person, if you think sound is important in games, this is the kind of game where like you can basically play it with your eyes closed, because it's about invisible enemies, AJ, and you have to hear them to kill them. Enemy Zero is a great game.
How are we already 26 minutes into the show already?
Because we talk about retro games for 45 minutes every single episode. See, I'm slowly transitioning the cats. They don't even know it. I'm slowly converting them to retro gamers. No, that's probably not true.
I think most of us were already retro gamers, Brian.
Yeah, but some of us like better games than others. I talk about Enemy Zero and you talk about Moto. Sun WTF with the $5 tip says, just hoping Polyphony Digital adds a 90 hertz mode when the PS5 Pro drops. I think first party titles will likely get some love. I feel like they could probably make that happen without the Pro. I feel like enough time has gone by where they could really, really, max out the power of the PlayStation 5. There's no rush now. It's like there was a rush to have it ready for the launch of PSVR2. But I don't think that a racing game that takes place on a track like that, I feel like there's enough control over what you're seeing at any given point that they could get that running at 90 hertz. And if not, I just hope the reprojection system gets kind of taken care of a little bit sooner rather than later. Because, not that reprojection's a big deal in Gran Turismo, but it's noticeable. And I think that would make people not care about the 90 hertz.
Yeah.
AJ, yeah, 27 minutes into the show, and we haven't actually started the show. I want to thank everybody who tips and keeps this channel alive. But every Monday, AJ, we do like to thank a different group of cat.
That's right, Brian. It is Monday, in fact, and we would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name to something Gamecat, something Gamecat related, or something Gamecat adjacent, as you and something Gamecat adjacent like to say. And this week, we have 3 new Gamecats to welcome to the Gamecat DOJO. Starting with something Munchcat adjacent.
That's really difficult to say. Bing!
I feel like I nailed it though, and I love that name. I love it.
Munch.
I'm biased though.
Cat. Wait.
Cat.
It's way too much AJ for me.
It's very Gamecat adjacent. I like it when they get creative with them.
Yeah.
And I like the creativity. I like the name changes that are not always like straightforward. Like just something Gamecat. I like adjacent ones are usually my favorite.
Meanwhile, I'm over here being like, if your name's Bob, just be like Bob the Gamecat. Like what you don't have to overcomplicate it. Although I'm surprised AJ didn't become a thing earlier.
Well, speaking of adjacent, Brian,
oh, no.
We've also got Blue Jew, the Gamecat adjacent underground cat elite name squad in the house.
I don't like this trend. I don't like this trend at all.
I love this. It is my show after all, Brian.
Adjacent.
This one.
This is way too much AJ in this name. Between adjacent and underground. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Blue Jew. I'm vetoing this one. we're gonna go back to the drawing board and come at us with a new name next week.
You keep it. It's beautiful.
Don't tell her what to do.
Finally, last but certainly not least, we've got Random Toxie, the GT driving, hell sweeping game cat.
Bing! Hell sweeping, GT driving, hell raising.
That's some good shit right there.
Cat petting.
Dude, have you had a chance to play the Hell Sweeper update? Oh yeah, you talked about it on Friday.
Yeah, if only there was a whole episode of GamesCast Live about it.
I forgot for a minute, but yeah, man.
Beautiful. Looks so good.
It's beautiful, and the game is straight up like a dream come true. Like I've been playing. That's what I've been playing the most over the weekend. Like I said, my brother and stuff were in town, so I've been actually doing a lot of other things, but a lot of family stuff last weekend, this previous weekend. But man, any free time I had, I was jumping into Hell Sweeper, and dude, it is like, I mean, it is everything that I had hoped for, and some, and like it's just been so much fun, and it looks beautiful. And it's given me that like Devil May Cry combat in VR with
nice.
like, the free with like juggling enemies and stuff and stringing together combos and killing demons and stuff. It is incredible. And I've been loving that so much.
Time to change the trailer. Gonna have a little Hell Sweeper going on here. Guys, thank you so much for changing your name to show support to the channel. If you change your name and want AJ to give you a shout out in next week's show, make sure you put change your name first and then put hashtag Gamecat in the comments under any Without Parole video. I will seek you out and we'll give you a shout out next week. You're awesome. I can't figure out how to take these names off the screen. There they are. 1, 2, 3. Good. We're all caught up. AJ, let's not waste any more time. I think it's time to get into the main topic here. These cats have waited long enough. Also, if you like I said, if you see anybody in the chat who's like making these good suggestions, saying like this is what needs to happen for PSVR2, feel free to copy and paste them and or read them out, shout them out, whatever it takes. I just don't want to. I've already missed way too many of them because I'm trying to run a show over here. I'm trying to run your show over here. So, yeah. All right, man. Well, so the fact is we're doing the show. Does PSVR2 need to be saved? Does how can Sony save it? All these questions are great questions. And it's funny because I was talking to Orseek, the Gamecat, before the show, and he said, does it really need to be saved? Or I said, does it really need to be saved? And he said, its reputation does. And I thought that was like the greatest summation of everything that we're doing here, right? Because yeah, it would be great if it sold more. We don't know how many it sold specifically, but we're getting the idea. It's probably around 1 million, right? And in a year in,
past 1 million, yeah,
right. In a year in, you'd really hope that like you said, that was like 3-4 million. And so the problem is that there's just too many people trying to stomp the PSVR2 down and say, listen, this is trying to tell people this isn't something that they even want, right? People that would be really, really interested in it, people that would really enjoy it. And so, I want to kick this off, AJ, with the first thing that Sony needs to do to quote unquote save PSVR2. And that's to control the narrative. They're really, really quiet this generation. Like they will go long periods of time without saying anything. And I think that people really appreciate transparency. People appreciate honesty. And so even if the news isn't amazing, to have somebody like a human being from Sony, from PlayStation division, like get on video and talk specifically about PlayStation VR2, respond to articles like Bloomberg's, IGN's, stop letting them control the narrative. Start taking responsibility for this for this device that you've created, and talk to the consumers, talk to potential consumers, talk to existing consumers, and talk about what's happening behind the scenes. Because one of the things that happened recently was Takashi from Bloomberg had posted that article about Sony's halted production of PSVR2. And everyone took that to say, well, PSVR2 is dead. Instead of anybody on the face of the planet jumping in and saying, well, no, this is how production works. Like they have an excess, so they cut back on production, and they got to sell these before they produce more. That's how production works. That's how manufacturing works. Nobody jumped in and said, this isn't as dire as people are making it out to be. This is kind of normal. Yes, they wouldn't have not had to do it if they were selling as fast as PS5s, but still, people said this is the fucking final nail in the coffin for PSVR2, and all Sony had to do is get out there and say, hey, here's what we're working with right now. Here are the sales figures right now. It's at 1.3 million, 1.4 million, whatever it is, and just be honest and give a reasonable reaction to some of these articles and control the narrative, talk about things and put a positive spin on it. Say, I know I'm going on a long tear here, AJ, but I got to get this off my chest because it's been driving me up the fucking wall. People keep calling PSVR2 the next Vita, and it's not. It's doing way worse than Vita ever did. Like it's way worse sales wise, and I think that's what people don't understand. Is that like if Sony was there just to be like, oh, we're only going to manufacture this thing if it sells 40 million units this generation, then they wouldn't have done it. Like they have some idea of how well or how poorly this thing was going to sell, right? They maybe had higher expectations for PSVR2, but they didn't expect it to sell 10 million in year one, right? They want to be in the VR game. And if that means just kind of dragging this thing along for a whole nother generation, then they're going to do it. And I think if there was somebody, some kind of person that people could identify with at PlayStation who comes out and says, listen, we're not going to give up on this thing. We really love the potential of VR. I think they could so easily tell gamers what they need to hear, and that just be the fucking truth and how Sony views VR. We've heard little bits here and there, but like we need to kind of hear it from somebody. Well, who's the person that's running the VR division at Sony? Probably nobody. Same person who's running the PlayStation store. Fucking no one, right? But somebody's got to be the figurehead that comes out and talks to us.
I mean, yeah. So the whole thing about, a lot of what you just said, it
was a lot. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of what you're describing is kind of the PlayStation brand as a whole right now when it comes to communication. It's not just like the VR section that's like, why aren't you talking about us? It's literally like everybody. Like, I mean, even the people that just are focused on PS5, they have mentioned like Sony's communication this gen. Jim Ryan had this whole thing about just kind of letting the games do the talking. Well, that's not really how marketing works. And when it comes to VR, like that is absolutely not going to work for VR. And that's I think been one of the biggest Achilles heel in terms of the market controlling the narrative, as you said, is like, they're just like, we're gonna do, like, they've obviously invested so much, into third-party games, into supporting, third-party developers, to make like exclusives for them, but nobody knows about it, and nobody is aware of any of this going on, and so it's like you're doing all this work
and spending all this money.
Spending all this money, but you're not telling anybody about this. I don't get this. I haven't understood this. This kind of structure or game plan from the get-go. Like, It didn't make any sense to me, which is like, having a state of play and showing off some games and whatnot was great. They had honestly a great first state of play, and ever since then they didn't do much from there. And then going to like a show that is as small as, what is it, CES or whatever, like, that's a small thing. That's not something that a lot of people tune into. And then you announce Gran Turismo there, like literally what should have been touted as like the flagship launch title. You announce it on the smallest stage. It's almost like it's intentionally self-sabotage, because it's just so questionable as to like what the strategy was behind this. But this is the sad part, Brian, is like all they literally would have to do is like not even that much. Like all they have to do is just come out and say, we're really proud of PSVR2. We're proud of this hardware, this technology, and they could literally just say something like that. Like, we look forward to, for the games and surprises we have in store for you later. And at the end of the day, they haven't even come out and just been like, we love PSVR2. Or having like some of these head people, like you said, and that was something different with last gen. Last gen, to your point, was like a very special group of leaders and stuff that were very. It seemed like they were very transparent. A lot of things about a lot of things. They were very communicative with developers. That's kind of how they designed the PS4, and that's been probably the most baffling thing to me. Is like, when this whole change took place and Jim Ryan took over, it was like, wow, like they literally had sold like what, the third or fourth highest most consoles in history, like at 110 million. And then like everything was like working. Like they sold 5 million headsets using 10-year-old Move controller technology. Like they were doing better. And the fact that they took when everything was working and then changed it. It's just like that old saying, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they literally took something that was fixed and working great and broke it. And that will never, I have a few reasons, personal opinion, theories as to why that happened, but it's obviously like, it doesn't come to me as like the biggest surprise ever when things, don't really work out the same way, because they changed what was working, and it's very questionable.
Yeah, man. This whole aspect of controlling the narrative, and I love what you said about maybe fucking patting themselves on the back a little bit and telling people, hey, yes, Capcom did a great job of porting Village into VR and getting Resident Evil 4 into VR. Great fucking games. 10 out of 10 games. Some of the best VR games that any VR platform has ever seen. And then they just let Capcom take all the credit. It's like, yes, they did it, but they weren't doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They did it because Sony paid them to do it.
A little bit of both, but yeah. They were paid, they were funded to do it or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And so Sony needs to pat themselves on the back a little bit and say publicly, right? Because part of the controlling the narrative is telling people we're not giving up on VR. We are actively working with third-party AAA developers to make sure that you guys have AAA hybrid games on PlayStation VR2 that you can't play anywhere else. Pat yourself on the back. Control the narrative. Stop letting people say Sony's not doing anything for VR. It's easy. Just say it. And they refuse to say shit.
That's literally all they have to do is just say something. I mean, they're doing they're obviously doing lots of work behind the scenes, like I said earlier, but yeah, they need to come out and say Jim Ryan, I mean, I guess the closest thing we had was years ago. He says, VR is cool, I guess. It's going to be not this year, it's going to blow up, not next year blow up, but sometime it might blow up. Like, it doesn't really show like any commitment when really they have all these people bending over backwards to make this thing work. And yeah, they need to show a little bit of pride in what they are doing and accomplishing here, because the message is not getting through without it. And if you look at something like Astro's Playroom, which was the launch title with PS5, the pack-in title, one thing I really loved about that was like, I got this sense of like, that game is obviously it's an Astrobot game, but then it goes through and it references all of their like decades of like,
shows some
different
pride.
Yeah. And it felt like they had a sense of pride showing all these things, like, and that was a great feeling. And that's something that, when your fan base, when your number one like fan base, most dedicated players have that boost in morale, it's good. But the morale seems really low for a lot of different things. But it's not too late to turn that around.
All right. I think it's time to move on to the second thing that Sony needs to do to save PlayStation VR2. And it's really the bare minimum here, AJ. It's really the bare minimum. It's announce anything that they're doing from a first party standpoint. And as you said about the last thing about controlling the narrative, this is something they need to do for the entire brand, not just PSVR2. They need to do it for the Portal. They need to do it for PlayStation 5. They need to do it even for the fucking Pro. They need to tell people why there's a reason to buy one. Of course, when they announce it, I'm sure they will. I don't think we require very much as a VR audience, as VR gamers. I think most people understand, hey, this is not a 50 million unit headset. Like, we understand that we're not going to get as many exclusives or as many AAA games from Sony or from Sony partners as we would on the flat screen PlayStation 5. All we need is like one game at a time to look forward to, right? Like, legit just say, hey, I mean, this is obviously just a random example, but just come out and say Uncharted VR is in the works. And whether that be, Uncharted 1, like that's the remastered version or the remake that they're supposedly doing, and that's got a VR mode, or if it's a built from the ground up Horizon style Uncharted game. I'm just throwing out an example here. And let it be 7 months away. Just let us know that something else is in development, or let us know that a hybrid is in development. Just something. Always have a carrot dangling at the end of the stick.
I always find it funny when you reference Uncharted, because it's like that more was climbing. A generation ago, and well, yeah, more climbing. That's true. And I don't think an Uncharted would maybe be the best thing.
Sure. I mean, it was an example, but I honestly think it might be time for Uncharted to make a comeback. I would prefer a Last of Us game, but whatever. Some
Again,
big
you gotta
AAA
look at
game, first party.
You got to take a look at the behind the scenes, what's going on, and like an Uncharted. Well, it could happen or whatever. It's like you're asking completely new people, not the same people that were the original inspiration writers, all that thing. So you don't even know if you're going to get the same product. But you know what?
We didn't get.
Still,
Call of the Mountain was also not the same product from the same team. That was Firesprite, right? And so, in Uncharted Golden Abyss on Vita was not the same team. It was a great game by Bend. This happens, especially in Sony. This happens once you pumped out about 3 or 4 games, they give the series to somebody else, and that's fine.
Right, and Sony have they have relied a lot on third party companies, publishers, and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. Again, that was kind of long. But if you're talking about first party support, man, there's only one game that comes to mind, and that is the game that the most hardcore VR audience has been begging for years, and Sony needs to listen. It's Astrobot, man. Astrobot 2. Like, I'm not 100% convinced that an Astrobot would go and make people sell buy 1 million headsets. No. It's not about that, though. It's about pleasing your most dedicated fans, the ones that have supported you, and rewarding them with a follow-up to. And Astrobot is a game that over time people started to realize. Once they got into VR and stuff, it maybe didn't make people go out and buy a VR right away, but when people played it, like, it really took over, like, and is highly considered to be like one of the best PSVR1 games ever. But I think you do that for the fans, for the community. You make Astrobot 2. Again, it's kind of about like planting that seed, getting that morale up. And I listen, like I like, I think I think the Horizon thing is like fine or whatever, but I don't think that was the right move. I don't think that was the right answer. That's, to me, like, that's not people if they want to play Horizon in VR, they want something like the actual Horizon game, right? Not taking, they don't want these. What's going to end up is you're going to end up kind of like how Hollywood movies are right now, where there's all these like spin-offs, reboots, things like that, and you're going to end up with these like kind of products that feel like shells of their former self, And that, to me, if you keep going in that Horizon Call of the Mountain direction, that's what everything is going to end up feeling like. And I don't think that's a needle mover kind of game either. But I do think like Astrobot and some other first party titles could potentially move the needle a little bit more even. And who knows? An Astrobot game could cost less than Horizon as well. Think about that too.
It should cost less. I mean, Horizon should have cost less than Horizon cost. I honestly think that Horizon was only priced at $60 to make the $600 bundle seem more appealing, right? Because Horizon feels like a $40, $50 game. And so an Astrobot game, I mean, what did Astrobot cost? Was it 30 or was it 40?
$40.
40. Well worth it. I would gladly pay 40 or 50 for another Astrobot game of the same quality.
Absolutely.
But another reason that, like, and so, under the same umbrella of talking about, announcing more first party support is something that a lot of people are still upset about. And that's the fact that there's no backwards compatibility. I'm not saying they gotta add backwards compatibility. I'm saying that most people wouldn't care about backwards compatibility if all the games we wanted from PSVR 1 were playable on PSVR 2. And so, and I think that Sony needs to get on that, and they need to figure out a way, whether it's just paying some port studio in order to get Farpoint, Everybody's Golf, Astrobot 1, Wipeout, Omega Collection, Blood and Truth, right? All of these games, and I'm sure I'm missing like a handful of really quality ones. These are some of the best VR games ever made, dude. Like Farpoint, how do you just drop Farpoint? Fuck, ignore the fact that we don't have Farpoint 2, right? That alone is insane. But that Farpoint 1 is just stuck on PSVR 1, right? It's absolutely mind-blowing. It had one of the best stories in VR ever, and it just something that everybody should experience on PSVR2. They need to get on this, and whether and again, it doesn't need to be a Sony first party studio porting it. It just be a port studio porting these one by one. Fucking bring them over to PlayStation Plus. However you got to do it. This is how you show people that you care about your new headset, by showing people that you still care about your old headset.
Yeah, something like that. Flat to VR studios, but something like instead of, but obviously
like VR Monkey.
So yeah, VR Monkey, get some kind of third party like help here. But yeah, man, I mean, the whole backwards compatibility thing, I mean, I think that proved to be a big deal to consumers. And the problem, the challenges that they face now is that like they could implement backwards compatibility. Like let's say they found a way to make backwards compatibility emulation. Well, that would be amazing. But part of that would have been like, well, that probably should have been here at launch. That would have been a much stronger thing going into launch. That being said, I still think it would be huge if they could find some way to emulate PSVR 1 games, instead of just like change the tracking, maybe have button remapping, as I've mentioned before. They can do these things, I think. And the thing about backwards compatibility, you're absolutely right. Like it would have worked. Like in theory, remasters would be like way better than backwards compatibility. That's what I wanted personally. I said, oh, well, they're not going to have backwards compatibility. That's fine, but that's going to live or die by how much they remaster. You really only need about 10% of the PSVR 1 library moved over. The biggest oopsies they had with that was that they didn't remaster their first party stuff, and that's where part of the other frustration comes from. Was like, yeah, like stuff like Blood and Truth and Astrobot and Wipeout Omega Collection, like you're relying on like third party developers that are broke as shit, and you're basically screwing them over by not leading by example, by not leading this movement with remasters of your own first party games. And that was another just like completely baffling move, where it's like, yeah, like you could have gotten away with no backwards compatibility if you remastered the games, but they didn't do that. So now we're bringing back the whole bring back backwards compatibility to the table, because if you're not going to remaster them, then that's what you need to do. Like they kind of failed on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's really sad, again, just because some of these amazing games, and I mean, I know every time this topic comes up, I sort of say the same thing, like, is that each one of these games has so much potential. Bring it over as is great, but think about everybody's golf VR, which get rid of those fucking caddies, dude. Those things are those guys are stupid. Like the caddies are like. They tried to implement some like weird dating sim elements into our very normal golf game. I was like, get rid of that shit. Get rid of that. Nobody wants it. And then give us some multiplayer, add a few more courses, right? This is we don't have a real golf game on PlayStation VR2. We have a mini golf game and it's amazing, but we don't have a real golf game. Everybody's golf VR would be perfect. Those physics were amazing. Even with the Move controllers, man. It just worked great. So
yeah, and I did see a comment about like, there's too many control schemes, it wouldn't work. Dude, they made VR1 work with Move controllers.
Right. No analog sticks.
Move controllers.
Right.
Like, you can absolutely do this.
Yeah, let us remap the buttons. Fucking done.
That's the other thing too, is like we need to stop pretending like they don't have the ability to do any of these things. They absolutely can. They chose not to. When people asked about backwards compatibility, they didn't say we couldn't do that. They said we wanted to give you a more next generation experience, right. Which is true. A lot of the games now feel more next gen than last gen, of course. But again, it's just that wasn't the right move to leave that out or not have some kind of something in place rather than just nothing.
Agreed. Let's take care of a couple tips, AJ, and then we'll get on to point number 3. Let me get this right here. Here he goes. Sirens on my end. Sun WTF with the $5 tip says conspiracy theory. Production halted for PSVR 2. V2 with better Fresnel lenses. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't think they would be Fresnel lenses, but no, that was something, and a lot of people, are probably going to call me crazy for this, but listen, I'm not saying this is what they're doing. I'm saying this does open up the possibility of something like this. With production being halted, it could definitely lead to, and I'm, again, very low. I would not expect this to happen, but I didn't expect PC support, which, by the way, was something I meant to mention during talking about controlling the narrative. That if you saw the reaction when they announced PC support, like that was definitely a narrative changer right there. That was a big move. Now, unfortunately, the PC market is not like super strong. But it at least changed the narrative, and it's not something I expected. But anyways,
but going on about what you're saying about changing the narrative because of PC VR support or PC support with PSVR2, dude, there's still people out there who think of it as a bad thing, and so all these articles have been written saying, well, this is further proof that Sony's throwing in the towel. They're letting the PC market handle. No, they're fucking not. This is something that everybody has been asking for. The added functionality.
This is the first thing they've done that people have like basically asked for from the get-go.
Added functionality, giving people something you never expected to get with PSVR 2.
Right.
And then somehow that became a negative thing. Control the fucking narrative, Sony. Talk about this and tell us why it's a great thing. And remind people, hey, don't worry. Plenty of still PSVR 2 games are still going to come to the PlayStation Store. If you don't have a PC, this won't change your experience at all. This is only going to be something beneficial if you happen to have a PC gaming rig.
Well, the thing is too, like, I think that this PC support, there's going to be some people out there, still turning it into a negative, but I think overall you saw like a huge change in attitude towards the headset once that was announced. That is one of the big things that people have been asking for, because the difference is right now there's a lot more competition than there used to be. Like, Meta is their big competition that they have to try and go up against. And again, we've always preached that competition is good. And like we've seen other pieces of hardware in situations like this before. You've mentioned the 3DS where they did like a price cut or something, ended up selling like a bunch of 3DSs. We saw this with the PS3 generation. This isn't even the first time Sony has been in this situation, right? Where they can make move after move after move to start kind of getting things in the right direction. But what I was saying was, who's that conspiracy theory?
In the tip, that was Sun WTF.
Sun WTF. To your conspiracy theory, just to entertain that, like I do think with the production being halted, this does put them in a position to maybe make some changes, and every single console and every single accessory, usually not every single accessory, but a lot of accessories gets like a version 2 model. We've seen it every single generation. The PS, and I'm not talking about like a pro version, but like an iteration of the same thing where they take the feedback and they kind of clean some things up. With even the PSVR 1, for those who don't know, had this. There was a version 2 that came out, and it had a thinner, lighter wire, and then it had some features built into the headset.
HDR pass-through, right, on top of that.
HDR pass-through, exactly. And these are like major hardware changes, and they could, not saying this is what they're going to do, but they are in position with the situation right now to release a new, refreshed PSVR 2 version that could have, like, let's say, pancake lenses, like something that a lot of people are talking about, that are the weaker points of the hardware. Because right now the hardware is like really the best thing that going for it right now, and some of the software, of course, the games. But yeah, this could put them in a place to maybe refresh the headset with a V2 model that has pancake lenses and whatever other things that people are talking about that they really want.
Next tip comes from Josh Zosky with a $5. Says Sony should hype how 4 of the 5 Game Award VR nominees for 2023 were PSVR2 exclusives. What an opportunity missed. Right. And on top of that, all 5 were available on PSVR2.
Yeah, but at the time there wasn't really anything else. I mean, Quest had literally just come out, so there wasn't like enough ample time. It's an artificial kind of thing there, I think.
I mean, again, it's just all about patting yourself on the back occasionally and just being like, "Hey, did you see all these games that were? Yeah, you can play all of these at PSVR too, right? Because it's never been the case before, right? For years, PSVR 1 was sort of, not ignored, but developers would try to get their games over, or they'd announce their game for PSVR, and then it would never actually make its way over. And so, here we are, we're sitting pretty, man. Like, pretty much most games are coming to PSVR 2 right now. We've gotten most of the great VR games that have come out over the last couple of years. Like, things we're doing really well, right? The library is thriving, and they need to, since no one else is going to fucking do it, they need to talk about how great things are. Also, just going back to the remapping thing, I saw a Foolish Optimist say, since controllers have less buttons compared to moves in DualShocks, how would you remap those extra buttons? Dude, there were 2 buttons required for turning, right? That's on your analog stick now.
You have a joystick that eliminates like most of those buttons.
Yeah, so the move button, 2 of the buttons, most of the buttons, let's be fair, most of the buttons on the move controllers were never fucking used. There was like 1 or 2 buttons used for each one. So it's usually just the triggers and shit. Now we've got the extra grips. I mean, is it going to work 100% of the time? Nope. But it'll work most of the time.
It'll work for most of it.
Living Legend with a Canadian $5 tip says, did you guys hear about the new VR headset Nintendo is making? Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart has been confirmed for it. # April Fools.
Yep. Dude, the internet was fucking useless today because I was usually before Gamescast, I try to kind of scour a little bit and just make sure I get like all the last minute things. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this is, I didn't even bother. That's part of the reason we did this today is because it's just I don't feel like going through all that crap just to find the actual news.
I mean, you did see that Discovery is coming to PSVR 2, right?
Get out of here, bro.
This Discovery is coming to PSVR 2.
Shut up, Brian.
Here's the trailer. We need more Minecraft-like games that don't have a survival mode.
I'm good.
We need Minecraft.
Cube.
We need Minecraft.
Which, by the way, Cube was my most played game of last month. Surprisingly, I'm sure the rest of those hours were Legendary Tales.
Shocker. Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. No, I'm sure there's tons of people that love all the April Fool's stuff, but I'm just tired of it, man. Like, I kind of hate the internet like so much these days. Like, I don't even want to like list. I'm so tired of people arguing about the dumbest shit. So tired about people getting mad about every little fucking thing that happens that I don't even want to be part of it anymore, man. It's like, this is my own little fucking corner of the internet, my own little bubble, and I'm not leaving no matter what you do, no matter what you say. You can't make me. Grandpa's Barbecue or GameCat with the Australian $2 tip says, I believe Golf Plus are working on a PSVR 2 version. We actually announced that forever ago, and then the Golf Plus guys were like, we never said that. And I was like, all right, well then I'll fucking stop telling people it's coming. I'll shut up. I won't promote your fucking game. What do I care? Golf Plus sucks. Bogey Cat Production. I'm just kidding. I've never played Golf Plus. I'm just pretending to be mad like every other angry person on the internet.
You're the angry internet today, and I'm not. This is crazy. It is April Fool's today.
Womp, womp, womp. Bogey Cat Productions with the £2 says, make PSVR 2 work with the Portal. Make it portable. That would be interesting. I don't know how it would work, but also I don't know how it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's funny because we did have this conversation like years ago when the Portal was when we saw the patents for the Portal.
Oh, yeah.
About the potential, something like that. But I don't really care. To me, again, like I care about games and experiences and apps and features. And I mean, that's like, that doesn't eliminate, that's not the same as like being wireless to me. Like, But Brian, so we need to continue our conversation here. You've actually you wrote down. I actually wrote down like a bunch of different, or like 5 different things. But we've kind of just been going by what's on the run of show.
Sure.
But I will say this one we actually both had, and I think that this is a huge thing. This is another. We talked about people saying PC support, and I think while that helps, I don't. I think that will of course help. With both, it almost helps to me. It almost helps more of the narrative than it does with sales, because again, the PC market is just it's potentially there, but really, I don't know just yet. But this is the thing that they need to do, Brian. Backwards compatibility, PC support. What's the other big thing that people have always talked about? This is probably, to me, the number one thing that Sony needs to do. Number one for me.
I might be with you.
Reduce the price. Okay.
Yep.
And listen, it's not that PSVR2 or VR or whatever is not worth the price that it is, because to me, it absolutely is. That's not the point. The point is that nobody's going to buy it when it's this expensive. I mean, only the most hardcore, dedicated people are going to buy it.
You mean the people who bought it already?
The majority of the people that are going to buy it at $550 have already bought it.
Yep.
If you want something that's like a mainstream product, that's the big thing that gets people. Remember the mic drop moment when PS4 came out and they said it was going to be what, $400, I think?
Yeah, $399.
And $399
when Xbox had just announced they were going to be $499, right?
And like how much that exploded. I mean, dude, PS4s, you really have to go off of like history and what has shown us. Mainstream products, aside from some stuff that are like cell phones and stuff, but gaming accessories, gaming consoles, like they do much, much better when they're cheaper, because it's just more people can afford them, and it makes more of an impulse buy thing. Listen, I firmly believe that Sony can reduce the price of PSVR2, and I think they absolutely should, because A, people will go out and buy it more, and B, it will also help the indie developers that are currently holding this thing up right now. I mean, if you don't want to, have a bunch of AAA first-party games a month, whatever, that's fine. But then indie developers are doing all the heavy lifting, and you're cannibalizing yourself when you're taking 30% of, we know that Sony takes 30% of whatever's on the PlayStation Store. And if people aren't buying the headset, they're not buying those games, you're literally losing out on your own sales of that your cut of that 30%. The only thing I can see them not reducing the price for, which would be a big mistake, is that if it being so expensive right now is the only thing really keeping it alive. I could understand if that's really they say, well, we're going to sell less, but we're going to sell it at a higher thing. But I think there's too much competition right now, and I think indie developers need more headsets out there. They need more support, and I think reducing the price will result in a lot of people going out and buying it. You reduce it maybe $400 permanently, and then like Black Friday comes around and you reduce it even more for like Black Friday. I mean, what made me buy a PSVR 1 was the fact that I got one for $200. Even though I really, really was interested in it, I didn't buy one until the first Black Friday, where it was $200. And that was like a no-brainer to me. And that's just how the mainstream market works. When it's cheap like that, you can't say no to it. This is where the Quest 2 finds most of its success, was because it was $300. That's why. It's not about that it was, it has nothing to do with, I mean, yes, it did have some advancements over PSVR 1, like the joysticks and, higher resolution. But really, when it comes down to it, if they were the price is what really sold people on it. What got like every kid won for Christmas that year or whatever when it really exploded. And again, the PSVR2 has some really tough competition right now, and they need to reduce the price.
Yeah, I see Nick Mulo in the chat saying, I don't understand what your basis for thinking they can reduce the prices. What if they're already selling it at a loss? There's no fucking way they are. I'm sorry.
They're not selling it.
They're not selling it at a loss because, I mean, listen, they never... They
more than a PS5?
They never sold...
more than a PS5.
They never sold PSVR 1 at a loss. Never. Not from the fucking first day they put it out. They're not selling it at a loss. I think they should be willing to take a loss. But I think the magical price point here, AJ, is $400. Like it's I mean, the magical price point is $300, let's be honest, but like that is fucking real low. The magical price point is $400 at the moment. This thing is still new.
$400.
What's that?
Yeah, $350 to $400 I think is the magical price point.
Yeah, they're gonna, and I think $400. I mean, it's a major price drop, right? But at the same time, kind of going back to the first point about controlling the narrative, I really do think if Sony went out there and said, listen, like we want this thing to sell. We want PlayStation 5 gamers to play PSVR 2. And if we have to cut the price down to $400 to do that, we will, right? Because obviously it could look bad, but if they control the narrative and actually explain why they're cutting the price and talk about that, like to us, like we're human beings and not some fucking morons, then they could absolutely do it and they could get away with it without making it look like, oh my God, PSVR 2 is in so much trouble they had to drop the price by $200 or $150.
Right. That is really important. The timing of it, the messaging, it is really important that if they reduce the price, that they don't let it spin into a, they're just trying to sell what they have left and that's it.
Right.
That's why I said in tandem, they have to reduce the price and either like they could literally just come out and say, listen, like, we believe in VR. We want more people to have headsets. Yep. That's literally all they have to do. But if they really want to make a point, they go, we're going to reduce the price. And also Astrobot 2 is coming.
Right, exactly.
Or some huge first party title to show that they're still supporting it, but reducing the price at the same time.
Yeah, in the same message. Exactly. I 100% agree. It's like this is sort of like taking all the pieces of the puzzle that we've given them and they just have to put it together and do it in the right way. And to make an announcement of a price cut, along with, hey, we are fully in support of this thing, along with a new game announcement. I don't care if it's 6-7 months down the road, first party AAA something. That changes the message overnight. And they come out looking like the fucking heroes. They look like they're in big support of VR. And it looks like there's a future here. When right now, there's just nothing, zero message coming from Sony. And so all these different outlets are allowed to run wild. Just ridiculously. And
people, again, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. It wasn't it?
And people, I mean, Cerebral Frost says Sony has eaten the cost on hardware before, and it benefited them to do so in the long run. That's also true. I mean, they get money from software sales. So it's not like they're just reducing the price and then there's no other revenue coming in. They get money from software as well. So it is really, really important that they do this. I think that this is the most important thing that they do is reduce the price, make it more accessible to people. Because, if you're not going to have it fully featured with all of its own apps, its own multi-uses and things like that, that's fine. It's basically just a gaming accessory if you're going to treat it that way. But as a gaming accessory, it cannot cost more than the platform. Like I think PSVR is good enough to be its own platform, but that's not what they're treating this as. There's no 3D home environment. There's no, movie theater apps. There's no, there's nothing other than games. And that's basically, if it's going to be limited to that, then they have to reduce the price and make it more accessible to people. I do think PC support will help this a little bit, but still, PC support could be their way of saying, we just want to, rather than reduce the price, then add value to the headset. which would work in theory. Like if you're not going to reduce the price, then add value to it in a way. That would help. But I still think regardless, I think you do all the things. This is what made PS4s and everything super successful. You didn't limit anything. It was the friggin' tagline of PlayStation 5 is literally play has no limits. So why is it so limited? It is only playing games right now, which is the main thing I want it for. Yes, that needs to be the core thing, but it needs to be cheaper, or it needs to do like a billion more things.
Shout out to Gamecat Cowboy Dan with the level 1 membership. Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat with the Australian $5 tip says, if you're going to drop price, why not, when they go back into production, bring out a new PSVR2 Slim, smaller headset like Quest 3? There's no reason why they couldn't do that. Obviously, they got to sell through all the stock that they have right now. And then, another, like, I don't know, maybe Christmas this year, holiday this year, or holiday next year, they introduced the new slimmer model, the cheaper model. Why not? Grandpa's Barbecue or Gamecat gifted a PlayStation VR2 without Parole membership. That's very sweet of you. Shades of Grey Matter with the Canadian $5 tip says, how about they subsidize the price of PSVR2 with a PlayStation Plus premium subscription? If they could get someone on a contract for 3 years of PS Plus, it could be $300. Feels kind of scummy, but I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Shades. There's a lot of different ways to go about this.
Even Meta has their own like PlayStation Plus thing right now, or their service thing. So yeah, like a some kind of library that you get with PlayStation Plus would be a great idea.
Yeah. Macho, the real estate procrastinating Gamecat with the level 2 membership says, I don't know why you guys are so insistent on Sony reducing the price. If they pulled the trigger for PC support, they have no competition in PC VR at that price. Not right now. But
they do have competition. They have the Quest 3. There's direct competition that is whooping their ass now. I mean,
yes, because people are looking for something cheap, right? Because people are saying, and so Quest 3 has its own library of games. Quest 3 is compatible with PC. But I think what Macho is saying is there's no direct competition, meaning like there's nothing with like eye tracking. There's nothing with headset haptics, like all the accoutrements of a PSVR2, adaptive triggers, right? It really is a high-end VR headset that, again, people have been kind of creaming their pants over, excuse the euphemism. I don't think that's a euphemism. I think that's just gross. People have been saying, hey, we'll sell it to PC gamers because they fucking want this. But expensive top-of-the-line headsets are coming to PC VR or PC soon. Like, so Sony's running out of fucking time. So I think making it PC compatible along with lowering the price is the 1-2 punch that's gonna really sell some headsets.
Yeah.
Smoke them all up. Shout out to their level 3 membership. Woo! Yeah, guys, I got a for everyone with I think it's level 2 or above membership, or anyone over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames with the $5 or a month pledge. I got that Legendary Tales interview up over the weekend. Me and BJ shooting the shit, talking about stuff. I hear it's good. I didn't really watch it. I just rendered it out and uploaded it real quick because I didn't want to watch myself on camera.
I watched it for you. It was very good.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. All right, man. I think that brings us to number 4 of the 5. And I think number 4 is super important. And again, like I kind of threw together a rough run of show. If you've got extra points to make, then by all means, we can throw those in whenever's comfortable for you. But yeah, this one is all about marketing, and I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. People are mad that they don't see commercials for PSVR2. People are mad that they're just not like seeing Sony really push this thing. It's awesome. Why aren't they?
They utilize the PlayStation blog and the YouTube channel way too much.
Right.
Way too much.
Now, in fairness, the YouTube channel, I think just the North American YouTube channel has like 4 million subscribers. And then most of the stuff that, there's a UK account, there's a whatever account, and you just start totaling those things up. I think you get about 12 million viewers, which is pretty fucking good. It's not, but it's also talking to your own audience, right? Yes, you want to sell PSVR2 to your own audience, to people who have a PlayStation 5 or are thinking about getting one, but like you need to expand those horizons. That's totally true. That's totally true. But yeah, I really think that they need to start making state of plays a more regular thing. Like they've got so many third party partners that they work with, that I think really we need to be seeing one of these every couple months. And that way they become regular. And that way, because the longer you go between state of plays, the more expectations get built up. People start expecting showcase-like material. If you haven't seen a state of play in 6 months, you go, oh, this is going to be a big one. And it's usually okay for VR. We usually get like 1 or 2 games and we're like, oh, that looks pretty good, right? Yeah. But like, do it every couple months, man. Really start promoting those third parties that, you're making money off of. And especially because there's so many great PSVR2 games coming from them. So those state of plays need to be happening way more often.
Yeah, I think, their timing and their placement with some of these announcements and stuff. It's always been, I think the announcing stuff, showing stuff off at State of Play is good. Like, absolutely, that's the right move. Last time we got to look at Metro and we got to look at Legendary Tales, and that was decent. That was good actually. Definitely more of that, or different ways. To me, man, there's only one there's one best way you can show this off. And that is something I learned from the PAX, is the physical presence of games. They need to bring back the demo stations, man. They need to have demo stations at Best Buys, at like Walmart's or whatever, GameStops, and they need to have a thing where you can actually play a demo of like Resident Evil, Gran Turismo. You had a great suggestion, like Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect is a wonderful game to demo. I would throw in probably a couple more games. But I mean, again, that's literally how I discovered and played and bought my very first PlayStation, was from demo kiosks. And for VR, it's even more important because you can show whatever on the screen all you want. If it's not an IP that people know, then showing it off is like really difficult. It is really difficult to show people how that feels to play it. But what does work is demoing it. And I think as part of marketing, this kind of goes with the messaging and narrative thing you had. They need to tell people like the right things, which I know is harder probably than it sounds. But I mean, it's I don't know. I think it's doable. I think if you listen to the internet, if you actually look at the internet, like there's a lot of people saying the exact same things over and over and over. Yep. And when you can't ignore, it's so easy to find like what people are asking for. That's probably how they discovered, I don't think Sony was just like randomly like, you know what, we should just have PC support. No, it's probably a lot of different things that led up to that. But I think marketing could definitely be improved. And stop announcing games and then not telling us anything about it, and leaving people to be the Gran Turismo to me is the biggest fumble. I mean, that was an amazing announcement, and they didn't tell us anything about it. People didn't even know if it was the full game. Yep. Why do we have to find out from influencers and YouTubers and stuff? Why can't they just say it's the full game?
Yeah,
it needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah, it's almost like they were doing it intentionally. It was like they were trying to self-sabotage their own announcement. But yeah, dude, it's the demo stations are it's so important. And it's so important because, as we saw over at PAX with the fucking Captain Toonhead booth that I see a lot of people talking about in the chat, you're not just teaching people that, or you're not just showing people how great PSVR2 is. You're actually showing VR off kind of for the first time sometimes. And so that's why I thought Tetris Effect would be a really good game to show off to people in PSVR2, because you put a controller in someone's hand, they know how to play Tetris. But I think the ultimate way, dude, I mean, I remember back in, God, was it high school? I can't even remember. But The most exciting thing about going to the arcade for me was getting my group of friends together and all of us playing virtual racing simultaneously, right? Because everybody sat side by side. Sometimes it was 4, sometimes it was 8 if you go into like a really big place. And all of us were racing head to head, and it was cool because it seemed so futuristic. This is a fucking blueprint on how to sell PSVR2 headsets. You just have a row of 8 racing rigs, 8 PSVR2 headsets, have it like set up like a LAN party, right? So everyone's just racing each other, and you get people to sit in those racing rigs and use PSVR2 for the first time, and you don't have to teach them how to use Sense controllers, right? People understand the gas, the brake, and a steering wheel. People understand this already, and it's one of the most incredible experiences in VR. You get every single person that goes in there and races with their friends is going to leave going, how much is this? How do I get one of these? How do I get to do this at home? Because it's incredible. And I think that's the way you sell as many as you possibly fucking can. Don't even put the Sense controllers in anybody's hands. That's a lot to learn for somebody who's never played VR before. People understand the racing rigs. They understand how to drive for the most part. Do that. And I know that's expensive, having a booth that does that, but like this is what will work.
That would be awesome. But that's why I like your idea of just like Tetris effect, because everybody's familiar with Tetris and it's not that hard to pick up, and we're out of, we're beyond like the whole COVID period where, people are, not willing to do this, because I know this firsthand, because when I go to my local arcade, they have VR stations up front, and like it always surprises me and amazes me that when they have the VR stations up front, like there's people there, like there's always people there, kids and stuff. They run to Star Wars, they run to Beat Saber, those especially, and something that's simple and easy and people understand. Yeah, and I think a demo station with like with Tetris or something, maybe a couple different games. Like, I used to love playing demos for Battle Arena 2 Shenden, Brian, and Jumping Flash, and that's
a good one.
And Pilot Wings or whatever. Yeah. That was like the first experience I had with PlayStation, like at a demo station, and that's what sold me for life. Like 30 something years later, still playing. Like that moment is where it started. And so like, yeah, having that physical presence is really, really important. That's what got a lot of people to buy PSVR 1, playing even stuff like what was the Eve Valkyrie? Like, I think Dave always talked about like how he played Eve Valkyrie, and that was like one of the things that convinced him to get it. And yeah, I think you put together a little demo disc or something. Imagine having like Astrobot there and being able to have like a demo disc with something like Astrobot. I mean, dude, that would be amazing.
And having like in the next Astrobot, like if it's like a hybrid, right? Be like, hey, check this out. Play this on the flat screen, and now put the headset on and see what difference it makes. Like that would just be this kind of cool conversion type therapy that people would need to be like, this is why VR is better, right? Yes, you can play it on a flat screen, but look, you're in the game now. I don't know, something like that would be cool.
Yep.
I don't want to dominate this whole thing, man. What did you have a point that you wanted to bring up?
Actually, I mean, I don't know. That's I've got price reduction, backwards compatibility, PC support was one of my list of ones, because again, I really think the way that changed the narrative, like it was like a flipping a switch. It was just like that, and that stuff really works, man.
Yeah.
That stuff is super important, and I understand not everybody's interested in PC VR. I of course prefer console over it myself, but having that option is certainly nice, and that's going to provide some extra legs for the PSVR2 headset. Talked about demo stations, which was one of my things. Astrobot 2, as well as like any first party or hybrid titles. Like hybrid titles wise, I said this already, but I would love to see. I do think every time they make a hybrid game, I think it moves the needle quite a bit. I think nothing moves the needle more than hybrid games, other than maybe something like that's like would just be like huge. But I think the hybrid titles actually move the needle quite a bit.
Thanks, so.
As we saw with, the player base for like Resident Evil 4, when we saw those numbers trounce like a lot of other games. The last thing that I had personally, I mean, this isn't like a huge thing. So I'm fine with just you going with the last point or whatever.
Yeah, the last point I had was pretty minuscule. Like it's probably the least important thing, but it doesn't mean it's unimportant. And that's to sell the controller separately and also sell the fucking cable separately, right? People are so concerned about their headset. I've seen comments from at least one or two people. I mean, it's not again, not huge numbers, but people who are so concerned about breaking their controllers that they don't even want to buy more games for the headset because what happens when I break my controllers? I'm out of warranty now, and I can't go out and buy more controllers, right? And then people have animals that chew the wire, chew the cable, and so they're concerned about that detachable wire, that detachable cable. That these things should just be available on the, even direct from Sony. Just have those on the store. These are small moves that show a lot of support and that show that you care about the thing that you're selling. And so it's again not kind of ending on a unexciting note, but also but I think an important note.
Yeah, I mean that's an important one. Actually, how you were talking about like taking popular IPs, like we've talked about Spider-Man in the past. Like I think if there was like any game that I think would work as like a spinoff, like Spider-Man would be a pretty good one.
Be an amazing one.
Yeah, that would be.
We've already gotten the proof of concept from the PSVR1 generation. We know this, just web slinging around an open world Manhattan is fucking fun all on its own, right? Like
for sure.
So yeah, I mean the proof of concept is there.
Yeah. The whole Marvel Windows, I can't tell if that's closing or not though, or if that's already gone because they just, they used they kind of like squeezed everything they had out of the Marvel franchise and nobody cares anymore. But that might be different when it comes to gaming versus the movies. So actually you were talking about Uncharted earlier, but I think where was it? Evgeny Yurchev has a much better point, dude. The Last of Us, like The Last of Us makes way more sense than Uncharted because like literally The Last of Us is like so hot right now. I mean, that is insanely popular, and that is
Twisted Metal as well. Twisted Metal's hot right now. We've got a God of. Don't we have a God of War TV series coming?
Listen, man, I loved the thought of Twisted Metal being in VR, but I don't. To me, that didn't strike me as something that was going to make a bunch of people. That wasn't like going to move the needle a ton.
Make it hybrid, man.
I think The Last of Us would be a much bigger needle mover than Twisted Metal or half like Uncharted because it's just about the timing, about like what's hot right now at the time, and by the time it comes out, it's not going to be kind of old news. And
yeah, dude, when we were talking about Uncharted, I said I'd prefer Last of Us. Because I absolutely would. I think Last of Us is slower paced. Last of Us is more about stealth. The Last of Us is more about listening and taking your time. That's great for VR. And so 100%. And again, like they already remade Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. Like, listen, Sony, show your support for PSVR2. For everybody who spent $70 buying this game for the goddamn fucking third time, right? This is the third time this game has come out. Just make it PSVR2 compatible. Like, justify the $70 price point for the, and for everyone who bought it once, then bought it again, then bought it a third time. Make it PSVR2 compatible. Like, make it a hybrid game. I will say, even though I don't think it's as hot right now, I think people would kill for a God of War game in VR. And I think that actually I think it would have been a smarter move, to be honest with you, to do a Call of the Mountain style God of War game than Horizon game, because God of the Warton is way more straightforward, right? I mean, I know there's a lot going on in those games. And honestly, like I haven't cared about God of War in years, so I spent a minimal amount of time with God of War 2016. What year was that? I forgot. 2018. So I know the mechanics gotten like way deeper since like the PS2 era and all that. But I think it makes more sense for a VR spin-off than Horizon did, personally.
But a lot of this window like does pass by, which is why like I think which is why I said stuff like Cyberpunk 2077, which I think, still has like that established, like it still feels like it's growing, right? Like it's still and you don't want that window to pass. Stuff like the upcoming game, like the Metal Gear Solid remake, like that would be, to me, it's just like these are just like no brainers. If you're gonna have to pick and choose, like Cyberpunk, Metal Gear Solid, the Grand Theft Auto game and stuff, it's like these are like almost too obvious, like how Gran Turismo was or how Resident Evil was. But my you said controllers, like selling controllers and stuff. Yeah, sure, like that would be nice to have. But for my last thing that I think would help a bunch is like just like applications and like features. Like this is my little mini like side thing that I think it's not huge, but like super important. Things like being able to watch movies with your friends in a 3D movie theater. They have this Sony Pictures Core app, and it's actually not bad. But you tying into that, giving like VR support for that. And what I like about that application is that if you actually have I'd pay for every time I want to see a movie with a friend. But the cool thing is if you have like PlayStation Premium or whatever, you get like access to like all those movies as well. But not just that, I think like the movie theater thing would be really cool, but also events like sporting events. I think that there should be like a VR camera at like every sporting event, where you can, not everybody has easy access to go to see their teams live or whatever. You pay like a pay-per-view event, like sporting events, UFC fights, boxing events, soccer, football, things like that. And then of course live concerts as well. And I feel like you could treat it like a pay-per-view. And to me, that just seems like, it just seems like free money, not free money, but easy money. I know that I would love to pay, to see a concert, that's like across seas or something that I can't go to, or or a sporting event or something along those lines.
Sorry, more sirens. I tried to turn off the mic until they were gone, but they're never gone. I think that the theater stuff, even the extra stuff, being able to buy the controller separately, the wire separately, is all very, very secondary to the important stuff. And I think maybe above all this is a social space. Like PlayStation Home was such a great idea. It was like way ahead of its time. We talked at length for years now about how great it would be for PlayStation Home to come back as like this hub for PSVR2 and be able to like hang out with your friends and like display your trophies in your own little room. And you could absolutely build it on microtransactions where like, your character gets to, you buy shirts in a store, or you get to customize your own apartment or whatever in home. It was great on PS3. I loved it. I loved just jumping in and seeing what was there. And they promoted so many different games with it, with like little rides and whatever, right? Little mini games. It's definitely something that, again, is very secondary to everything else we've been talking about. It's like very secondary to the success of PSVR2. But having it there again is just like shows this massive dedication to the headset, and also really just utilizing all the tools at their disposal, which I just feel like every time the topic of Sony gets brought up, it's the underlying message is that they're not utilizing everything that they have. They've got all these different studios working on all these different games. Where are the fucking games? Where are the games? Right? They're just underutilizing studios. They're underutilizing all these tools at their disposal, and it's infuriating as gamers, right? We're like, well, we want stuff. We want to give you money. Why aren't you giving us the option to give you money? How difficult is this? But anyway, like I said, it's all kind of secondary. Grandpa's Barbecue or GameCat with the Australian $2 tip says, I think PSVR2 GamesCast Live should be an app. Can you imagine streaming this in 3D or in VR. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do that. That'd be crazy.
Anyway. But yeah, man. So I think that's probably about enough we can cover for at least what could be, really helpful in getting things turned around, getting it in the right direction. Again, I think PC support announcing that was a good first step, but there's so much more that needs to be done, like a price reduction, along with like announcing Astrobot 2, something that would make everybody happy. If bonus points, if you could get backwards compatibility emulation, if you're not going to be remastering those games, because it doesn't seem like they're going to. And then, demo stations, better marketing, messaging, communication. Did I say demo stations? I don't know. I think so.
Yeah,
and then
a few times.
apps and features, and then some additional controllers and stuff. So we'll have to wait and see how things play out. But like I said, it's going to be an interesting ride. But I know that at the end of the day, I'm really enjoying my headset. So as long as the games keep coming, I'll continue to be happy. Yeah. Whether that's with the help of the media or not. Like, I don't need the media to tell me what I like so many people do these days. But yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm loving my headset, and I'm going to get back in some Hellsweeper tonight.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, listen, we clearly love PSVR2, and we want it to succeed, and that's why this video exists. We want to send a message to Sony. We want to say, listen, you've got something special here. And you've got a ton of people that really care about this thing. And now, do the bare minimum, man. Do the bare minimum. Step up and start talking about it. Start showing it off. Start being proud of it. Start being proud of the things you've done on it and the things that you've paid for. The things, just, I don't know, man. Sony's humbleness, their unwillingness to talk about the things that they've done is starting to come across as arrogance. Because they just we don't need to say anything at all. It's like, it's okay to pat yourself on the back a little bit, man.
And it is very possible that they're in a position where they don't have to care. I mean, I've seen companies do this before where it's like they're fine with where it is and like they're totally happy with where it is.
Yep.
I don't agree with that because, like, again, when you affect indie developers and things like that, and the people that love your product, you're basically your number one fans and your indie developers, like that's where it becomes problematic for me. Otherwise, they could get away with it. But yeah, they could totally be in a spot. I mean, we've seen companies turn around hardware like this before from Sony itself, like PS3, like 3DS. We've seen this happen before, so it can absolutely happen. And what did they do? They looked at the competition and they said, okay, you're doing this, we're going to do this. Everybody's copying Sony right now and beating them at their own game. Now they need to look at everyone else and undercut that. They need to find a way to beat to either be the best at it or start being competitive, like punch back a little bit. And like I said, the only alternative is if they really are just in a position where they're fine with it being at $550 and selling less, and they don't really need to do anything, and they're making profit. Obviously, at that price, they're definitely making profit off of it. And maybe that's like what they with the stance that they want to take. But I think for the sake of helping VR grow as a whole, I think they need to start making some better moves because all of VR needs the support right now, not just PSVR2.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so Sony's not dumb, right? I'm sure they're looking at the larger VR market and saying Quest is selling this many headsets.
Quest is selling roughly, like at least 3 times as much as they are. Yeah,
right. But that's still nothing. That's still nothing compared to the number of consoles that they're selling. And so, yeah, I think it'd be easy for Sony to say, we'll take whatever profit we can on the PSVR2 headset, because no matter how much we drop the price, it's not going to turn around and give us the same amount of profit from the third-party developers. I think you hit on a really good point earlier when you said that this is screwing over third parties more than anything else. That this is that they need to get a larger install base to support their third-party partners. Right. That's one of the most important things right now, because the last thing we want is for awesome games to come out on PSVR2 and then have them not sell, right? It's not like developers don't talk to each other. Word will get around very quickly. If there's like, well, there's only 1 million people on this thing. Like there's, and only, we only sold 1,000 copies of our game. We've heard from people who've sold far less than that. So listen, it's very, very important that if Sony cares about their third party partners, like they claim they do, that they start making these moves. But again, what I was getting at earlier, saying that they're probably looking at Quest and being like, well, it's not selling great either. That they're just, kind of like coasting along this generation. VR hasn't hit the mainstream yet. And so
I think it has, but it's not selling like it yet. I think
that's what determines if it's in the mainstream or not. If it's selling like it is or not. That's the only thing that determines if it's in the mainstream, is if it's selling like it's mainstream. If it's not selling like it's mainstream, then it's definitely not hitting the mainstream, right? That's the only thing that matters. And so I think Sony's looking at it being like, well, maybe PSVR 3 is when, maybe next generation is when VR really fucking hits and people are really into it, and the form factor is even smaller and there's less friction putting this thing on and using it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was their mentality. They're like, well, we're just in the game again. We're just in the game for another generation. And maybe next gen it'll hit.
Just kind of write it out and then try again. Yeah, because we have seen studios or people do this. We saw Nintendo do this with the Wii U. Like they basically just said, well, that didn't work, and then they came back and made something better with the Switch, and the Switch fucking exploded.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it, the best selling thing right now? Like best selling current gen console?
I mean, it's selling way better than something that's 8 years old should be selling.
Sony doesn't have the reassurces and money and stuff of like Microsoft or whatever, but they may have enough. But they may have enough resources and whatnot to give it another shot, even if this generation does end up being a wash. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that, though. This is literally what we're up here saying, is like, they don't have to let it come to that. Like, they should be proud of like PSVR2 and start supporting it better, for sure.
Mark Pringlesleeve says, I think PSVR3 will be twice the price of the PSVR2.
Oh, please, God, no.
No, I don't think so. I honestly think that like the tech that's in PSVR2 is phenomenal, right? The thing that will push VR forward is what? Hold on, let me make full screen. Oh, who's the puppers?
Rocky boys.
Oh,
he's laying on my anti-fatigue mat.
Awesome. Yeah, the thing that's pushing VR now, like we've got this headset that's awesome. Like, I love my PSVR2 headset. Like, it does not need an upgrade.
I love it.
As far as I'm concerned at all. The only thing that's going to make it better is more power behind it, right? The PlayStation 5 Pro, the PlayStation 6. Whereas Pringlesleaf is saying the PSVR 3 is going to be wicked expensive. I'm going to be like, you know what? I think the PSVR 3 is going to be real similar to the thing we have. And in 5-6 years, that's going to be way cheaper to manufacture. I think we're going to get to a point where VR is $300 for a headset, right? Maybe less. And then and then bam, now we've hit mass market adoption. And then everything just rolls downhill after that. Nice and easy. So, AJ, you want to play some 20 questions and then get out of here?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm the host, which means you're fucked.
Uh-oh.
I didn't pick this game, so you can't blame me if you don't like it.
Did Rypop choose this?
I'm not telling you who picked it, because that might give you some kind of clue. All right.
Ooh,
you guys know
how pick your own 20 questions game.
Okay, I'll be honest. If this one wasn't given to me, I would have picked something even harder. So be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Here's a little song I wrote. You guys know how this works. I'm going to put 6 minutes up on the clock up on the counter, the way that Jeremy likes it. And up to you guys and AJ, you only have 6 minutes and 20 yes or no questions to figure out what PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 game I'm thinking of. Are you ready?
Daddy.
Just call me Daddy. Is that what you said? Did you say
I said
Daddy?
yes.
I thought you said Daddy. And I was like really turned on for a second.
Do that.
Okay. On your mark, get Des, go.
Is this game on PSVR2?
No. Yeah, no.
Does this game support the DualShock?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I don't think so. No, I'm going to double check though, just to be sure.
Sounds like a moves game.
DualShock. No DualShock.
Oh wow. Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Is it a shooter?
Yeah.
Shooter. Is there full locomotion?
No, that's 5.
There's no full locomotion. Has this developer made other games?
I'm so glad I looked this up ahead of time. No.
Okay.
No other VR games. They made like one other flat screen game that I wasn't familiar with.
Is it just a stagnant wave shooter?
Just please be more descriptive.
Well, you said it doesn't have full locomotion.
Right. So you're asking, do you just stand in one place?
Yeah, like is there any movement?
There is a type of movement.
Like in-game movement, not you physically moving.
Correct. In-game movement. There is a type of.
So there is some type of. Is it a rail shooter?
No.
Okay. So there's probably like some kind of node teleportation or something.
You're a node.
Your face is a node.
Yeah, that's true. One big.
Are there dinosaurs in this?
No.
I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Is there node teleportation?
Yes, that's 10.
Okay. So it's node teleportation shooter with the moves. Where are you do you shoot mushrooms from?
Does Looper ever take a day off?
Ooh, magic. I like where you're going with this. Is it a bow shooter?
Unknown. I don't know if there's a character with a bow. You're
not allowed to let people pick games for you anymore.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played this. My guess is yes, but that's not what I remember.
So it's not just a bow shooter.
It's definitely not just a bow shooter. If there are bows in it, that might be like one of the characters can use bows.
Okay. So it's not like Ancient Emulator, Quiver. I liked where you were going with that though. Let's see here. So it sounds like there are bows in it. If it was Sacrilith, I mean, that would have to
all
be
bows. Yeah, I would definitely say yes, completely for that. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's like a mixture of weapons. But I remember
sounds like there's multiple characters to choose from.
Yeah, I forget exactly how it works. I should read the description while you're doing this here.
This game's probably never been on the top 25 or top 20 list.
There is, in fact, bows in this game.
Okay. Raw data has full locomotion. This is node teleportation. That's what makes this kind of tricky. That should make it easier. Table of Tales. Move. Oh. We said it's a shooter. Is it does this game have any third person elements to it? Or is it all first person?
I think it's all first person.
Okay. The thing that starts on the train. How much time do I have?
I don't know. I've wasted a lot of your time though, so let's ignore it.
Let's see here. Is it sci-fi?
I mean, there's an element of sci-fi.
In Death would be like obviously a bow shooter.
Yeah.
That's a good, you're on the right track.
Also, In Death has full locomotion.
Right.
Doesn't it?
Mortal Blitz doesn't have a bow. And is like.
Blitz does not have a bow. That's correct.
Mortal Blitz. Yeah. Does it have bullet hell enemies? Elements?
I seem to remember some bullet hell stuff going on.
Oh. No teleportation, guys. That's the key to figuring this out.
Yeah.
Bows and node teleportation. Did it come out within the first 2 years of the PSVR life cycle?
Yes.
Okay. Was it a launch game?
No, it's 15.
Okay. 15, getting close. Oof. This is one of those early on node teleportation games. I loved Mortal Blitz too, Aceville. Sounds like there's multiple characters. Space Trainer, Dark Legion, the Wizards. That wasn't Node. Space Pirate Trainer was that was just wave based. There was no local. I don't think there was
no
any nodes in that.
No.
No Crisis Brigade. It was Smashbox Arena. I was thinking Ancient Emulator. But that was like purely bows, wasn't it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you start off with a bow in Ancient Emulator. That's like a bow game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember a lot of guns in Ancient Emulator.
Oh yeah, I only remember bows. Was there a demo for this game?
Yes, and I don't know how many questions. No, oh right, 16. Yes, there was a demo.
Does this game start with the name Ancient?
Yes.
Is it Ancient Emulator, Brian?
AJ, coming from Thai Games, the only game that I'm aware they made, June 27th, 2017, less than a year into the PSVR
Let's go, Brody.
It's Ancient Emulator. Suggested, I saw a couple times in the chat. When you said it's not Ancient Emulator, I was like, wait, why?
I don't remember there being guns in that game.
There's guns and there's magic. And,
you said there's more characters. Maybe I only played as the bow person.
Maybe. I remember soon, like after launch, they introduced like another character. Like, they updated the game with a whole other character. Yeah, it's crazy. Depending on which character you choose, it is much, much different. But yeah, there's a bow character, there's a gun character, there's a magic user. Yeah.
Hell yeah! Well, we got it.
I had to go through the PlayStation store and read the description to be like, oh shit, I forgot more of this game than I remembered.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Like I just remember it having both. I didn't play it a bunch though, because I didn't play it till way later, and it was kind of buggy, and I wasn't very interested.
3-player co-op, pretty cool. That was the real selling point here. It was kind of cool, and then it was 3-player co-op to get through. Like it's more tower defense than wave shooter, but very wave shooter. In its design. Yep.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Good job, Cats.
Good job, you guys. Good job, AJ. Good job, Cats. Good job, everybody. Thank you, everybody who helps this channel run. We appreciate you oh so very much. Rap Hop, who puts this thing up on podcast services of your choice. Grody, the Gamecat Army General, who puts timestamps into the show after the fact. Guys, everybody who supports the channel financially, thank you so very much over on patreon.com/withoutparole being a member over here by tipping during the show. Guys, it means so very much. Keeping the channel alive. You have no idea how important it is. Thank you very much. Also, we just appreciate you being here, being part of the community, being a member of our Discord, hanging out. Like that's the most important thing. Money is always secondary. So thank you for being here. Thank you for shooting the shit while we try to keep you entertained. And thanks to everybody who sits back and watches the show. Doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. We love you just as much. Don't forget, Google Chromecast, or whatever the fuck the podcast service is. It's going down tomorrow. Say goodbye to it. Find a new one. We love you so much. AJ, it's Monday.
Get the motherfucking cat right, because I want to say see you guys on West 2 Pampino Ramos. Love you too, homie. Good to see you, man. Bogey Cat Productions. Good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen that name in a while. That is a name I haven't heard in a long time. Rob Axel, Twitch of the Deuce Juice. Gamecat. Bluebell in the house tonight. Hello, Bluebell. Good to see you. Rad Boy also here as well. Thank you so much, man. Ryan B, thank you so much. You have a great week as well. Kill Artist, the Dreamweaver, Gamecat, Elf in the house tonight. What up, homie? Magic the Gamecat. Man, he really had me on the right track going down with Quiver. I was going the Quiver route until I forgot that that Ancient Emulator had other weapons. Super Galaxy Godstar, what up, yo, later. Leon Kennedy fan, hello. Resident Evil. Mark, Papa, Pringles Leaf, thank you so much, man. Random Toxie, the GT Driving Hell, Sweeping Gamecat. Yeehaw! Yeah, it's time to sweep some demon's. Indeed. Chrome Colossus in the house tonight. Cerebral Frost, thank you so much, man. Firewall. Firewall 0 Hour Profit? Says Ancient Emulator looks like shit.
Oh, okay.
Awesome Jacob in the house tonight. My Crossfire Sierra Squad homie. Guys, said fist bump to you. Skiba, what up, homie? Good to see you, man.
What up, Skiva?
Shades of Gray Matter. What up, dude? Looper, the Underground Game Cat. Elite Name Squad in the house. Nansa, what up, homie? Nihilus Ryan, my Metal Feline fan. What up? Beard Power 666. Running out of steam here.
That's okay. Cat. Dude, run out of steam, man. Show's over.
Brody, the Game Cat, Army General. Guys, love you so much. Thank you so much. But Brian, before we get out of here, I would like to know something, Brian.
Oh, yeah?
What
is your favorite color?
It's your favorite color.
Would you like to know what happened this day and without Parole history back in 2001?
I would like to know.
Okay, good. Let's do it. Here it is. Wow, look at this. April 2nd. Okay, so fucking close. 2021. Blair Witch, Layers of Fear, and Green Hell all planned for PSVR. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, AJ. Don't be sad.
Also, Blair Witch was freaking awesome. That was so good.
Really good. Really good. Yeah, and Layers of Fear was not. Layers of Fear was like a really bad.
I hated that game.
Like a
I thought you liked that game.
Listen. I think I've come clean.
That game so
I think
much.
I've come clean about this. Right.
Okay.
That I might have been on a substance when playing that game and overrated it slightly. It definitely allowed me to look past how crappy it was, and really allowed me to enjoy the scares a little bit more, enjoy the gameplay a little bit more. But yeah, it's, I gave it a 7. Probably deserved a 5.5, 6 at most. Oh, come on. That's really mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for life. I didn't forget you. I was just saying you for last.
It's funny that all the way back in 2021, we were like, oh, Green Hell's coming to PSVR 1. And then like, here we are like 3 years later, and we're like, oh, and it came to PSVR 2. And
how
it's
did we guess that?
I don't know. Dude, who knows? Who knows where this shit came from?
Are you saying 2001 or are you saying 2021?
Am I saying 2001?
I mean, you might be.
YouTube wasn't a thing in 2001.
2001, a PSVR Odyssey.
Oh, man. Yep. Blair Witch was great. Layers of Fear was not. Green Hell didn't exist till last year. That's a thing. All right.
Hey,
we love you guys. Have a great night.
Bye.